Good morning, guys. How are you today? Very good. I see we have royalty amongst us. But as wonderful as that is, we are going to ask King Benjamin to step down off of his throne and become just a commoner like the rest of us. Good. I'm glad to see you guys are doing pretty good with your history. Hello, hello. Do you know how to change your name inside class? I can fix it for you. All right, guys. Today we are working on verbs. The second part, I've got one sentence from the homework that I really want to go over that most people didn't get right. Um, so we'll talk about that, and then we've got other stuff to do. We finished Tuck Everlasting last week. How do we like the end of the book? Just fine. Okay. Oh, good. So Nora, you enjoyed it again. Cool. Was anybody surprised at how it ended? I mean, it was really gonna go one of 2 ways, right? When he was gonna drink the water and live, what we can assume is happily ever after, or she was going to not drink the water and it ended up the way that it ended. Okay. All right, guys. Well, we will talk more about that at the end of class. We've got quite a bit to unpack about how the ending went down, because it got kind of eventful toward the end with, May clocking the guy over the head and killing him and all that stuff that came from that. And then we'll talk about a writing assignment that you guys have. More than just a journal, it's going to be a more specific writing assignment. All right, let's get to prayer requests. Then we will open up with prayer and get started with lessons. Who has anything that they'd like to remember today in prayer? Everything must be going pretty well. Let's see. Any of you guys? Nope, everybody's kind of away from where the storm is. Kaylee, where are you? I don't see the initial for your state next to your name, so I can't tell where you are in the country. Kaylee, can you hear me okay? I can see you're on a mobile device. Kaylee. She saw the chat clearly. Well, maybe she's still trying to figure some stuff out. Okay, so no prayer requests. Let's just open up with prayer then. Hi, Kaylee, can you hear me? All right, I guess not. All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you for everybody who is in here. I pray for anybody who might be missing today. We pray for today's class that our discussions, that our lessons are all very clear and easy to get through. We ask you for a blessing over the rest of the week as we are just in the middle of all the semester's work. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, very good. Kaylee, where are you right now? You said that I see you're on a mobile device and you don't have your state initial next to your name. There's a storm coming in where my family lives in Florida is why I'm curious. None of the other students are in the storm's path. Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, so you're not in the path of the storm either. Well, there's a hurricane and it's starting to get kind of big coming in. I was talking to my mother-in-law about it this morning, so I was just wondering if any of my students were in that area, but none of you guys are, so we're not going to worry about you guys. Okay, look at the red sentence over here before we move slides here. This is the sentence in the homework that you guys did not do the best on. About half of you got credit or got about half credit on everything because I got several people giving me through and under as the verb. Remember, you were looking for the verb in here. What is the verb in number two? They went through the front door and under the lights of the marquee. Went is the verb. Good. Now, what parts of speech, because we've studied well, no, we haven't studied these yet. Oh, does anybody know what parts of speech through and under are? They are not linking verbs. Nope. So that may be the confusion. We haven't had this lesson yet. Through and under are both prepositions, and they don't show action, they show relationship between two things. And I guess I can kind of see how you might think of them as actions because they're, I don't know, showing the position between where they were and the door and whatever. But went is my verb in there, just so you know. If you didn't get full credit, that's why. All right. I don't see anybody typing any questions, so we're going to move our notes back up because we're going to add to what we learned about verbs last week. So, action verbs we learned about last week. Today, we're going to learn about linking verbs. Who has a song or a memorization technique for linking verbs already? That's this column. If you had me last year, you have one because I taught you this last year, but we'll go over it again. Ooh, y'all are quiet. Nobody has okay, all right. Well, we're gonna memorize it today. Well, we're not gonna memorize it. I'm gonna show you how you can start to memorize it today. Everybody knows Mary had a little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. You know, you learn that whenever you're first learning an instrument. So we're gonna put the linking verb list to the tune of Mary Had a Little Lamb. I'll sing it through once, and then the second time I sing it through, you guys can kind of sing along with me to get a feel for it because I want you to learn the song. It'll help you. Who already knows? Simon, anybody who had me last year remember the linking verb song? Okay. Do you have any of it memorized, even if it's not the whole thing? Good. Good, Anna. I've always told my students that even if it's just like the first couple of lines, maybe the first two or three, that's helpful. Okay, so I'm gonna sing it through, then you sing it with me the second time I sing it through. And a one, and a two. Is, are, was, were, am, be, been, has, have, had, do, does, did, may, might, must, can, will, shall, being, could, would, should. Okay, I'm gonna sing it through again. You guys try and follow along with me. I'll do my little bouncing mouse here so that you can see where I am. And a one, and a two. Is, are, was, were, am, be, been, has, have, had, do, does, did, may, might, must, can, will, shall, being, could, would, should. I'm telling you, I've had students for years who have decided to do, follow my advice and memorize this, and it helps them. Nobody who memorizes it ever regrets memorizing it. But I've had quite a few students who, because I don't make you memorize it, like I don't make you prove to me that you can do it or whatever. But if you choose not to do it, then you might come across a verb like can, and you can't remember, "Oh my gosh, is this gonna be a linking verb or whatever it is? Or was, were, am, be, been, has, have had, do, does, did, may, might, must, can." Oh, there it is. And the reason that we memorize these and not action verbs, how many action verbs do we have in our language? Do you remember us talking about that last week? How many action verbs do we have? Too many. Too many to memorize. But linking verbs, these are also helping verbs. We have so few of them that we can memorize them. That's kind of nice. And the reason that we also memorize them is because it's hard to picture a linking verb in our minds. Like I've never seen anybody were. I don't think I can picture anybody musting, So unlike an action verb that we can picture in our minds happening, linking verbs not so much. But there you go. I believe I need to add this to week 6's folder. I do. So hopefully I will remember to do that. I'll post this little picture and you can practice on your own if you wanted to work on memorizing it. Okay. So what does a linking verb do? They're kind of boring. All they do is like the links of a chain, just kind of sitting there dead, they just connect the subject to the predicate. Really, really boring. That's all they do. The old truck is brown. Is a linking verb. Okay? Not any action happening. Not anything colorful added to it. So, kind of boring. Now, I'm going to have you guys tell me how I would write this number sentence in words. Logan, perfect. Anna, perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. Usually people say 2 plus 2 equals 4, but 2 plus 2 is 4. Even though that's an equal sign, you can say is, huh? It was probably a few years ago when you first started learning how to do those word problems in math, they're very unpopular, you know? Those word problems, they're a little confusing. Well, I remember being taught way back in elementary school when we first started learning those, that certain words inside of that little paragraph thing that you were trying to figure out the math equation for, certain words meant certain symbols in a math problem, right? Plus, of course, is the little addition sign. Less than, of course, is the minus sign. Do you, Logan? They confused me. I couldn't keep all the details straight. Like I needed one little step at a time, and that one was, whew. When they started adding all those, I was lost. Of course, now I realize it could be because I was a bit dyslexic. Learned that about myself a few years ago. Too little, too late to get help with school. But anyway, I remember that they told us that is means equals. Well, the reverse is true as well. Equals can mean is in grammar. Okay, so why am I even talking about this? Miss Bontrager, this is not math class. This is grammar class. Well, there are a handful of verbs in our words that they can play the part of action verbs sometimes, and then sometimes they can play the part of linking verbs. Well, Miss Bontrager, how do I tell the difference? You use the equal sign trick. And what that means is a I can take the linking verb or the verb I'm testing out of the sentence, put the equal sign in, and the sentence still kind of makes sense. So here are a couple of examples of how is can be replaced with an equal sign, and it kind of works. I mean, you kind of have to look at it like this, but it does work a little. Gramertown is a nice place. Gramertown equals a nice place. Can you see how the equal sign works in the context? The sentence still kind of makes sense. It's weird, but it works. John is a good sailor. John equals a good sailor. So is always a linking verb when it's by itself. However, smelled is an example of one of our verbs that can be an action or it could be a linking. Let's see if we can figure out which one it is based on this little trick I'm teaching you. Jane smelled like apples. Jane equals like apples. Jane is like apples. Does that equal sign work there? Could I say that? Jane is like apples? I think it does. Yeah. So smelled in this case is a linking verb. We'll practice another couple of, yeah, Logan, we'll practice a few more so that you get your, practice under your belt. How about this one? Jane smelled the apples. Jane equals the apples. Jane is the apples. That one definitely doesn't. So smelled in this case is an action verb. How are we doing on that? Do we see the difference in how smelled is used in each of those sentences? Okay. It just links Jane to being like apples in the first sentence, linking verb. But in the second one, she's actually she's actually taking the scent in through her nose and it's processing through her brain and she's saying, "Oh, I smell the apples," right? It's an action. Action smelled. So how do I know, Miss Bontrager, what kinds of verbs can go either way? Because there's really just a handful of them. I'm not going to have you memorize them, though. I call these the sensory verbs. Okay. So smelled is one of them. Smelled, smelling, smells, you know, those that variation of that verb. What are one of our other five senses other than this one? Looks is another verb that can be either action or linking. Taste can be a verb that is action or linking, depending on how you use it. Feels is one that can be action or linking. So that's why I call those the sensory verbs. Seem is another one, like something seems, something that kind of goes along with touch to me. Appears, sounds. Let's do another example. Okay, here's where we're using looked. Jose looked toward the canal. Is that going to be action or linking? Yeah, the equal sign doesn't really work there. And so looked is action. Good. How about the second example? This one does work. So looked is linking. Excellent. Do we need to see another example? Anybody? Anybody want to see it in action one more time? Okay. Evan would like to. Okay, so Evan, I'm going to put it up here. Let me do feels. Okay, so feels is my verb in question. In one of those sentences over here, it's an action verb, and one of them it's a linking verb. Correct. Because the dog equals sick. The dog is sick. The dog feels sick. Oh, yes, that's linking. And then this one, the cat feels the feather. That would be action. Okay, very good. Again, the equal sign test that I just taught you will tell you if any verb is action or linking, even if it's not a verb that's really in question. So let's say that you've got a verb and you're like, well, how about imagine? I really don't know. Is that one going to be an action or a linking verb? And maybe it's not one that can't ever be linking because it's not, but you want to test it anyway just because you've forgotten. Give it the equal sign trick. It'll tell you any action verb is an action verb because the equal sign will never work with an action verb. So it's just one that's nice to have in your back pocket, right? That little tool. We're going to go through each of these sentences, finding the verb and telling me whether it's action or linking, okay? This is just like your homework. So we are studying together for your homework assignment this week. Let's do it. Number 1, I am glad to see you. Where's the verb in here? Am. Now I tell action or linking. Is, are, was, were, am, be, been. There it is in the linking verb song. Ta-da! Okay, how about number 2? I hope so. Hope. Action or linking? Action. Excellent. And number 3, it is nice today. Is and linking. So far, so good. Y'all are getting some good answers put up here. I like it too. Number 4. Like, and it will be action. Now I'm getting just a few answers from a few students. Everybody else is pretty quiet, but I hope everybody else is doing okay, even if you're not active in working on these things. Good work so far. Number 5, you look peaceful under this tree. Ooh, Logan. How do you know that that's a linking verb? Walk me through your thought. You are right. Right. He used the equal sign trick. You equals peaceful. You are peaceful. Very nice job. How about number 6? Yes, and look at all of these apples. This one, same verb. The equal sign trick does not work, so it's action. If you have any questions on that, we'll slow down and back up. Number 7, they smell nice. Apples do smell nice. That's nice. They is a pronoun, Simon. Remember, it takes the place of nouns. Smell will be my verb. And Logan determines that it is linking because they smell nice. They equal nice. They are nice. Oh, it works. Yay. Number 8, smell the grass too. They just cut it. Excuse me. Smell here is an action verb. Yes, it is. There's another verb in there. And act. I'm sorry, not act. Cut. See, my dyslexia acted up again. Cut, gonna be action or linking. So they're both action verbs in there. Okay, I will give 5 bonus points to the person who can explain to me why I have 2 verbs in number 8. 1 through 7, we had 1 verb in each one. Number 8, we've got 2. Simon, you got it, my man. 5 points for you, bud. We actually have a compound sentence here. He said there are 2 sentences, meaning that we could separate them, right, Simon? I'm reading your mind here. But, yeah, so we will have 2 separate sets of subjects and verbs in number 8 because it's a compound sentence. We'll work on that later, but that's why I'm giving bonus points because it's jumping ahead a little bit. Way to go, Simon. Number 9, I am ready for a walk. Excuse me. Am. And linking. We are cooking now, man. Number 10, I love to walk. Love and an action verb. Yes, if you wanted to test it with the equal sign trick because you didn't remember, gosh, is love one of those? Then you could. I'm glad nobody said walk. To walk is something special. It's not our main verb in our sentence. 5 points to anybody who can tell me what to walk is. It's not a verb, but it's not an object of the preposition. That's a great guess, Nora. Not a direct object. No. This is really hard. You guys may not know. I'll tell you. It's an infinitive. But don't worry about that. Just erase that word if it's confusing you right now. We'll come to it later. Number 11. The path is paved now. Is. And that is linking. Good. And number 12 is a curveball. Look out for it. I will walk with you. Will is, are, was, were, am, be, been, has, have, had, do, does, did, may, might, must, can, will, shall, being. There it is. And walk. Wait a minute. Wait. Unlike in number 8, where I had 2 verbs, but they were kind of in 2 separate sentences. Number 12, well, I will walk with you. It's like will and walk are working together. So I'm going to make my line solid between those 2 because will walk is my verb. Now, what do I do with this if I've got what looks like a linking verb and an action verb together? It's not really what they are. Somebody explain to me what the situation is here when I've got will and walk. I'm going to go back over here and give you a little hinty poo. Is this news to everybody? My apologies for the munching in the background. Anna, will is a helping verb. Walk is the main verb. So we have sometimes 2 words making our verb. We call it a verb phrase. And we have a helping verb with will and a main verb with walk. Now, they both work together. Now, some people will forget this and they'll go, oh, it's a linking verb and an action verb together. No, they both work together to be the action verb. I kind of treat them as like they're a unit, they're a team. Does that make sense to everybody? How will is the helping verb, walk is the main verb, but they both work together to be the action. I got it. I got it. Okay, so we don't see those all the time, but there will be one of those on, well, I don't know how many there are. I know there's at least one on your quiz this week. So look for Number 13, I am glad. Am, give me the right tool. There we go. Am will be a linking. Ta-da! You are nice. Are linking. After those curveballs, they kind of got easy on us. Help me up. Help is an action verb. Bravo, bravo. We just studied. So when mom and dad ask, "Hey, do you need to study for your quizzes this week?" We already studied in the in class together, and we did. I don't know if you want to study outside of this too, but this is exactly what you're doing this week. Longer sentences, of course, but you'll find the verb and tell me, is it action or linking? I don't see anybody typing any questions. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints? Bravo, everybody. We all took to that very well. Let's move along to talking about verb tenses. Verbs tell time. And what tenses do we have? Walks, walked, will walk. Oh, that looks familiar. Will walk. Past, present, future. You can tell when something happened by the verb tense. Kind of cool that verbs do that. Okay, so sometimes we just change the end of the word. Sometimes we add a helping verb to the beginning, but that's not all. It's not just past, present, and future. We also have a bunch of other different types of tenses. These are the perfect tenses, meaning that the task has been or will be completed, has walked, had walked, will have walked. I don't care that you recognize and remember, oh, this is a past perfect tense or a future perfect tense. What I'm showing you this for is to show you that look how long this verb phrase is. Will have walked. So I can have two helping verbs with the main verb working together to be the action verb. Yes. Does anybody know? I'll give 5 points to the person who can tell me how many verbs maximum can we have in a verb phrase. This is an example of a 3-worder. 5 bonus points to the person who can tell me the maximum that you can have. 5 is a good guess. Kaylee, it is 4. 5 points for Kaylee. Okay, now I'm going to give 10 bonus points because this is harder for the first person who can give me an example of a 4-word verb phrase. What I mean by a 4-word verb phrase is I've got 3 helping verbs with a main verb. And it's got to be correct, right? It can't just be strung together. It's got to be a correct 4-word verb phrase. 10 bonus points. Will have walked is an example of 3. Will have had walked. That's not a correct one. That's a good attempt, Anna, but that's not a correct verb phrase. Will have had walk. Will have been swimming. Evan, 10 points for you. So, Kaylee, will have walked. That would be a 3-worder. Might have run. Nora, that would be a 3-worder. But Evan, you got it, man. 10 points for you. Let me put you in my list here. Evan. Nice job. Everybody see his? Will have been swimming. So 3 helping verbs with a main verb. This is a future progressive, let's see, future perfect progressive. Oh, and what's the other one? There's another part to that tense. It's really, really complicated. Like it's so complicated that even I get confused whenever I try to name the tense. Some English teachers will make you memorize, okay, these are all perfect tenses. These are all progressive tenses. These are all whatever tenses. And I'm like, you know what? I've never needed to know, like needed to name the tenses. As long as you can create the correct verb phrase, which you guys are good at most of the time, then we don't memorize those. Just past, present, and future is good enough for me. All right. Any other questions about verbs before we move along to the middle of our class here? We're getting close to the break time. Okay. Doing good. All right. So we all understand now we have action verbs. We studied those last week. We have linking verbs. Another thing I want you to take away today is that you can sometimes have helping verbs with main verbs. And we studied how to find a verb and tell whether it's action or linking. Okay. So we between last week and this week, we've covered everything that we're going to with verbs this year. All right. Muscle and muscle. This muscle is the one that we use most often. Who, when they're writing this word in their mind, says muscle? Every time. In my mind, muscle. And with Wednesday, Wednesday, right? When I'm writing beautiful, beautiful. It's funny how we have these little memory cues that work for us with spelling. But yes, this one is the muscle like what you have in your body. Can't help myself. That's how I can do spelling is I have these little tricks. What about this muscle? What is this one? Looks kind of gross. I think it's kind of cute. Call them muscles. But this muscle, it is a food. Anybody ever had mussels? They're not a kid-friendly dish. Most kids would look at those and go, ew. But some of you with more sophisticated palates, perhaps our well, he's not even in here anymore. Perhaps our King Benjamin III would have eaten mussels. Don't like them? Not a surprise. They're a little chewy, and if you don't like seafood, you probably wouldn't like mussels. Yeah, because they're water-dwelling creatures, but I think they're delicious. I can put away some mussels, my friends. But they're about this big. The little shell is about this big, and it's black on the outside. Ooh, fried mussels. I could get behind some fried mussels. I like them just, steamed in the little broth stuff that they come in. They're pretty yummy, but they're not as, appetizing as, say, chicken nuggets and pizza. Mac and cheese, right? That's that now we can have those things for lunch. People don't usually have mussels for lunch. Mm, man, and if it swims, I will consume it. I love seafood. Does he, Kaylee? Yeah, I don't know if they're good for you or not good for you. I have no idea, but I enjoy them. Mussels. Anyway, that is the way that you spell it, and it is a creature, different word. All right, let's take a 5-minute break. We're about time, and then when we come back, we will move along to some poetry, and then we will cover quite a bit with Tuck Everlasting. Even though we finished reading the book, we still have quite a bit to talk about with it. So I will see you guys in about 5 minutes. Nutella's yummy, isn't it? I like it on like pretzels or something. It is delicious, although it is not very good for you, right? Because it's just loaded with sugar. It tastes okay, so to me, Nutella tastes like Tootsie Rolls. Does anybody get Tootsie Roll vibes off of that? Oh, yeah, that'd be yummy. Yeah, I recommend giving it a try. A lot of people like it, but it's almost like eating candy. Like, it's not it's not really healthy. It's in the peanut butter section, but it's not as, even peanut butter is not, amazing for you. Full of protein, though. Butter that tastes like syrup, like, on purpose. They make the butter to taste like syrup. I do not believe I have. I've had sweet butter, right? Like the sweet butter that you put on the rolls at Texas Roadhouse. What do they call it? Cinnamon butter? No, no, that's good. Oh, yeah, Nutella on waffles. Hot dog. Yum. Oh, I know. Oh, they're too good. Butter syrup. That sounds delicious. Y'all are making me hungry, and it's way too early for lunch, and I've already had breakfast. So I'm gonna have to wrap up the yummy talks and move on up here. Oh, really? It's a good place to go. Okay, this is from an old book that I don't have you guys buy this book anymore, so just kind of ignore what's at the top here. But we are talking about rhymes and the patterns of sound that we can find in poetry. How can you explain what a pattern may be that we find in poetry? A pattern is just the repetition of something, right? You are making an awful lot of noise right there. Give me just a second. Let me move this away from her. You can chew on your bone, but it was right next to that desk. Repetition of sounds in poems. How can you explain that to me? Yeah. Yeah. Well, when we find rhyme in poems, is there a pattern to it? Like how often you see the rhyme, where you find the rhyming words, things like that? Well, let's look at it. Well, we're just going to talk about rhymes first of all. The most important part, one of the most important techniques in poetry, of course. Whenever we don't find rhyme in poetry, it kind of bugs us sometimes. If our songs didn't rhyme, we'd be upset about that. Be like, "Oh gosh, what? That's not even music. It's just a paragraph put to tune." Well, what rhymes with flake? I've got this over here rhyming with this, something in this column. Flake, ache. What rhymes with ring? Sing, catch, or catch, I should say without my accent. Catch, match, tape. And great. We know what rhymes are. Now, let's find some patterns of rhymes in here. End rhyme is a type of rhyme that we have whenever two words at the ends of lines will rhyme together. And this is what we typically think of when we think of poetry is the ends of the lines rhyme, right? Said rhymes with head, white rhymes with right, sun and none, brain and again. Now, what's the pattern there? said and head, white and right, sun, none, brain, again. What pattern do you see with those end rhymes there? The first and third lines rhyme and the second and fourth. Same thing with the other stanza. So if I were to tell you, okay, what the pattern is in here is every other line rhymes together, right? Not every pair, like not the back-to-back lines, but we've done every other line rhymes. So that's the pattern there. That would be end rhyme though. Internal rhyme is another kind of rhyme. It also sounds really nice, but whenever a word of the pair falls in the middle of the line like this, that's called an internal rhyme. So falls, walls, shakes, lakes. Let's read this since it's short and we'll see how it sounds. The splendor of falls on castle walls and snowy summits old in story. The long light shakes across the lakes and the wild cataract leaps in glory. Oh, that's nice. Even though walls and lakes are at the ends of the lines and don't rhyme together, they've got a rhyme, but it's inside the line, right? Inside, internal. Don't you like it whenever they give us a title that's logical like that? And this is part of a poem from Alfred Lord Tennyson. Look at this guy. He's got an interesting background. He went he basically went crazy and drank himself to death, is how his story goes. He had a family history of alcoholism and mental illness, and he himself spent some time in a mental institution. But he had a very, very close friend who he was just like, I mean, they were tight. He never married, but this really, really close friend of his died and really early on and left him just grief stricken. So he kind of went crazy after that. But he was a very talented writer, very talented um, poet. Yeah, yeah. But that's you won't see many pictures of him looking very well put together because he led kind of a scruffy life like that. But anyway, that's a good example of internal rhyme, regardless of his bio. I love I rhyme. These are fun because you cannot hear them. You can only see them. Through and cough look like they should rhyme perfectly with each other. Why do they why would you expect them to rhyme perfectly just at a glance for those words? Because they're spelled exactly the same for the last four letters, but they sound nothing alike. Can you think of other I rhymes to words that look like they should rhyme, but they do not sound like it? Rough and thought. That's fantastic. Great example. Even the thought has a T on the end. It's close. Their spelling is close enough. You're like, yeah. Okay. So we'll only see I rhymes in poetry. You don't have I rhymes in song lyrics. Why not? Why just in our poetry will we find I rhymes? Song lyrics that would kind of be pointless. We don't read song lyrics often, do we? Precisely. Good answer. Good answer, guys. Let's move on to Tuck Everlasting. We said at best we thought that the ending was okay. Why the dissatisfaction? We'll get to the slide in just a minute, but I'm just curious. Why are we not just fully yay at the ending? It wasn't really a happily ever after, was it? 'Twas not. Okay. All right. Let's look at the slide now. The one glance she gave him fixed his appearance forever in Winnie's mind. She's looking at the man in the yellow suit after May clobbered him over the head and killed him. She turned her eyes away quickly, looking at Tuck for relief because she was scared, right? But Tuck was not looking back at her. Instead, he was gazing at the body on the ground, leaning forward slightly, his brows drawn down, his mouth a little open. It was as if he were entranced and, yes, envious, like a starving man looking through a window at a banquet. Now, what was Tuck envious of? Maybe yellow is his favorite color and he was really coveting his suit. No, that's not it. Yeah. Strange to think of somebody yearning for death that much, like almost drooling over it. What was your personal reaction whenever May uh, killed the man in the yellow suit? No, ma'am. You lay on it. Don't eat it. Oh, sure, Nora. How about the first time? Do you remember how you reacted to it the first time? Of all the characters to have clobbered somebody in the head, May doesn't seem like the one to do it to me. Stop chewing on the blanket, you knucklehead. No, ma'am. This dog. All right, so we already covered that one. Sorry for my distraction. Okay, when Winnie returned home from the Tucks, why did her parents prefer to believe that she had been kidnapped? Now, that did not make any sense to me when I first read it, but then I thought about it for just another second and was like, oh, that's why. So, because she tried to tell him, she's like, no, they were good to me. They didn't kidnap me. I left on my own. And then they took me in. Well, they kind of kidnapped her a little bit. But her parents preferred to think that they had taken her out of their yard. Why would her parents, even after Winnie corrected their story, why did they prefer to believe that Winnie had been kidnapped? That's weird. No ideas, huh? Okay. Well, I'll give you guys another second to get your thoughts together on this. What about being brainwashed, Evan? Like who? It's on the slide, Kaylee, what we're talking about currently. Anna, that's it. Okay, so her parents didn't want to accept that Winnie was the one who wanted to leave. They preferred to think of somebody having had to take her from the house. When we know that, yes, Winnie was kind of taken away to the Tuck's home after she saw the spring, yada, 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 but they didn't take her from her yard. Like she was running away originally, remember? And her parents didn't want to accept that part of the story. They because that makes them look bad, right? So Evan, do you think that her parents thought that Winnie was brainwashed? Is that what you were getting at? And I think that is what they were telling themselves. Because how would that make the parents feel to accept that Winnie had run away? If they acknowledged, well, you weren't kidnapped out of the yard, you actually left because you're miserable. Yeah, make them feel like bad parent awards winners, right? Okay. So that's it's just a funny way of thinking about it though, because kidnapping bad, but they prefer to think of her as kidnapped because it wouldn't be their fault. Yeah, that's tough. That is really, really tough. Okay. So let's talk about symbolism before we talk about the question on the slide. What is symbolism? Does anybody know off the top of their heads? Symbolism comes from the word symbol. Okay. I'm going to put a symbol up here on the slide. What did I just put up there? Okay. What is some more meaning? Oh, actually, y'all jumped to the symbolism. I drew a little cartoon heart, but you guys jumped to its meaning of love. This little symbol represents love. Right. So it represents something. That's all symbolism is. When an item in a story represents something deeper. Okay. So Natalie Babbitt, the author, mentions the heat over and over in this story. Now, she does not mention the heat as it being a good thing, right? She's always mentioning the heat as it feeling miserable and sticky and oppressive, and she uses all kinds of negative words. So, heat is not a good thing. What do you think the heat represents? What is the symbolism behind her mentioning heat so much? Because she does this on purpose. Oh, heat could indicate conflict, like something's not quite right. Logan, I could be convinced of that. Never thought of it that way. That's why I love teaching these classes. I have taught this book for I don't know how, like 7 years, and you guys are still coming up with things that I've never thought about before. The heat of battle made Logan think of it. Okay. All right. It made me think of Tuck's misery and how he kind of felt like that he couldn't go to heaven, therefore eternal life was the other way. Yeah, dot, dot, dot. Thank you, Kaylee. HE double hockey sticks, as we used to say when I was a kid. You know, I thought maybe the heat symbolized that and that unhappy place for Tuck especially, and how Natalie Babbitt was thinking of, the immortality being a punishment almost. Mm, 'kay. Got a little deeper on that one. These are gallows. What does it symbolize that the gallows blew over in the storm? Getting deep again. The gallows blew over in the storm. That means something deeper. She had that happen in the story to represent what? Okay. And it would have been if they had tried to hang May Tuck, right? That may have crossed your mind when they were talking about, "Oh, we're gonna have us hanging." It's like, "Oh, you might, but it won't work." And then the jig is up. Um, Nora, what do you mean by that? Like the gallows isn't important anymore? Okay. So without well, I mean, it could be easily rebuilt, but without saying that they don't need it anymore, maybe that was like okay, some symbolism there. I can see that as well. All right, all right. We'll be talking about symbolism in other stories too, so hang on to that knowledge that something can represent something else. So Winnie's stunt at the jail. Well, first of all, what did she do at the jail? What is the stunt that I'm referring to? Helping May escape. Yep. Yep. Okay. How does that improve her social life? Because before, Winnie didn't really fit in with her peers at school and in the town. But suddenly, after this jail thing happened, she wasn't trying to get more popular or have people like her more, but somehow it improves the way that people look at her. Okay. Well, the kids started talking to her and admiring her a little bit more, and they asked her about it. They were curious. Remember that part? So why? Why all of a sudden did that improve things for her with the people around her, with the kids around her? Right, Anna. They thought she was just a boring, spoiled little rich girl before she did that, and then suddenly, whoa, this girl has got some depth. Suddenly her cool points went up. Mhm. Exactly, exactly. Okay, so when he poured the water over the toad, what did that suggest about what she believed to be true? Like, she didn't pour it out on the concrete, she didn't pour it down the sink, she poured it over the toad. Why? How does that show? Let's see. Well, first of all, did she believe the Tucks and their story about the water making them immortal? Okay, so she believed it. So she never said, "Hey, I believe you," outright that I remember, but pouring that water over the toad kind of showed that she did. Hmm. How do toads and frogs get their water, like ingest their water? Oh, maybe it was a test. They absorb it through their skin. So, the little toad became immortal. I don't know how the toad felt about that, if he even cared. But yeah. And what did that tell us about her taking Tuck's warning seriously? Well, she didn't drink it. So did she believe Tuck? She did. She took his advice over Jesse's proposal. And even though she didn't wait any longer than, she wasn't home very long before she made this decision not to drink the water. So she was pretty wise as young as she was. Now, her pouring the water out doesn't mean that she couldn't ever have gone back into the wood and drank from the spring, but it kind of showed us how she felt about it immediately, right? It's not like the only water that she could ever get a hold of, but it did show us, I think she's made her decision. Even before you read the epilogue, she showed us what her decision was. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Sure, said the counterman. Had a big electrical storm, though, about 3 years ago now, or thereabouts. Big tree got hit by lightning, split right down the middle, caught fire and everything, tore up the ground, too, had to bulldoze her all out. What happened? What is he describing? Specifically, what tree? Uh-huh. All right. And go further with that. Then what happened? I know what the guy says, but what lightning hitting the tree, what did that do for everything there? Not the woods, the tree. Now, what are the odds of an electrical storm hitting that one tree and destroying it and the ground all around it? Methinks something bigger happened than just a random storm. What do you think what do you think Natalie Babbitt is trying to tell us happened to the spring? Oh, it just happened to get destroyed. More purposeful, like God reached down and took it away. Exactly. Exactly. It's too perfect. Too perfect for a bolt of lightning to have destroyed the one tree in the spring or underneath it for it not to be something, God did on purpose. Hmm. And we can speculate why it was there for so long and why he finally decided to destroy it right after, Winnie and them were found the spring and all of that. Who knows? Who knows why God's timing is the way that it is sometimes? But that was interesting, I thought. Okay, last question about it. Tuck wanted Winnie's grave to be there, but now that he saw it, he was overcome with sadness. Do you think that because he was overcome with sadness at seeing Winnie had died, do you think he had changed his mind about being immortal? Like he wished that she had been immortal? He was really sad. Oh, so he can be sad about her death, but also be glad that she chose not to drink the water. Those 2 things can be true at the same time? Of course they can. Of course, right? It would actually be a really mature way to think about it, to feel those 2 emotions at the same time, or sorry, stumbling over my thoughts here. Um, Inside Out, have you guys seen that movie? Where the emotions can get complicated and you can have 2 emotions at the same time and, things kind of mixed up together. Well, that's what Tuck is feeling here. He's feeling glad and sad at the same time. It's kind of strange when that happens, but 2 things can be true. Simon, the second one is really good, isn't it? I cried like 3 times. It's so good. So good. All right, that is Tuck Everlasting, my friends. What a good story. I hope that you feel good about how it ended, even if it was a little bit sad for us. Okay, let's talk paragraphs, shall we? Let's look at what you're writing about, and then we'll look at paragraph structures. So, your topic that you're writing about this week is what would you do with forever? So, let's just pretend that you found yourself kind of in a situation like the Tux did. You didn't mean to be immortal, but it happened, somehow anyway. Now you've got forever staring out in front of you. What would you do with it? And you're going to explain this to me in 5 to 7 sentences, which is a good, mature paragraph. Whenever you were younger, you probably learned that paragraphs were 3 to 5 sentences, but we as big boy, big girls start to write in longer paragraphs, 5 to 7, even no matter how mature you ever get, 5 to 7 is about a solid a paragraph. Okay. Some are a little longer than that, but usually that's what we stick to. All right. And your writing will be in MLA format. If you have not understood MLA format up to this point, there is a tutorial video that I made years ago for you guys in week six's folder. Okay. Who has any questions about the details of the writing assignment before we talk about paragraph structure? Week six's folder. I highly advise you go into the folders every week, not just go to the calendar or whatever. Every week, go into the folders because that's where you get your reading assignments laid out for you too. Okay. All right. So this is your writing assignment. Well, what does a good paragraph look like? It looks kind of like a hamburger. Okay. We've got buns on either end. That would be my topic and my conclusion sentence. And the goody stuff in the middle, the veggies and the meat and the cheese and the mayonnaise and the, oh man, put a fried egg on that burger. You talk. Oh, my favorite is a mushroom burger, mushroom and Swiss. Give me that good stuff in there, right? So the good stuff in the middle are the supporting details, no matter how you like your burger. Okay. So your topic sentence is going to tell me what you're going to write about. Somewhere in that topic sentence, you're going to mention what you would do. What I would do with forever is blah, blah, blah. If I found myself living forever, I would blah, blah, blah. Okay. Like a real quick overview of what you're going to be writing about. Then your details. So let's say that you would learn to knit. This is a lame thing to write about, which is why I'm choosing it because I don't want to give you too many ideas. I want you to give me the ideas you have. Let's say that if you were to live forever, you'd become a master basket weaver. Okay. That is what you would do with forever. You'd mention that in your topic sentence. And then in the detail sentences, maybe you tell me why you like basket weaving and what kind of baskets you would want to weave. And then, what you would do with all of the baskets that you would weave because you'd be weaving them forever. So there'd be a bajillion baskets eventually, right? And then your conclusion sentence would sound something like, I love basket weaving so much I would want to do it forever. Kind of wrapping it up with a nice little conclusion. That bottom bun helps hold things together on the burger, right? And so that's what you're doing with the conclusion sentence. You're going to tell me what you're going to tell me, then you're going to tell me in the details, and then tell me what you told me in the conclusion sentence. Oh, that would be an interesting one if you spent forever breaking world records, not just in basket weaving, but in other things. That would be interesting. I don't know what I would do with forever. I'd have to sit and think about it for a few minutes. Right, Simon, that would be a record you could have. Oh, okay. Any questions about this? What a good paragraph contains, how it is structured. We are about out of time, my dear ones. Get so many fantastic answers with this writing assignment. They're interesting to read. Okay. If anybody has any questions, please continue to type them out and we'll talk about them. I do want you to watch the MLA format video. Um, who in here is already really, really comfortable with MLA format? Logan? Okay. So if you were like, look, I could do MLA format in my sleep, then maybe the video is not necessary for you. But if you're not real comfortable with it, I do highly recommend the video. Good, good. Well, if you wanna, follow along with my little tutorial instead of mom going over it with you, then you've got that basket building. Oh my gosh, how funny, Kaylee. All right, everybody, we are out of time, so I will and this is something that I need to take off of here. You do not read in the building poems textbook. We don't have that anymore. So you only have 5 things to do. Okay, I will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful week and weekend. Bye, everybody.